Verbally Effective, your double E, Ina Esco here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Verbally Effective podcast. I just want to thank you guys for rocking with me this entire roller coaster of a year. 2020 has been something serious, right? But hey, we still here. We made it. We breathing today. But I want you guys to be safe out there. And make sure you go to my social media links at Ina Esco, ENAESCO, and click on that link to get you some cute merch. Yes, we got the merch. We got the hoodies, the sweaters, the Henry mask. Make sure you check it out. However, let's jump right in. I have this beautiful woman with me today. She is running things over there in that city council, baby. I'm talking about Michalyn Easter-Thomas. She is on the city council for District 7. How are you, lady?
Hey, Ina, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know we're, in the holidays, in the thick of it. I know you got things to do, honey. Are you excited about the holidays this year?
It just seems so far away. Like, for some reason, Christmas doesn't seem like it's a few days from now.
I know.
Seems like it's like next week or something. I don't know. So
it's a different year, right?
Yeah, this is, we're in a time warp of something. So,
girl, we in a hole in the warp. I feel you. This is just a different year. We're definitely going to touch on some of that in the pod today, but we're going to jump right in, Michalyn. What part of Memphis are you from?
North.
Okay. What part of North Memphis, honey?
So grew up in Vollintine-Evergreen, so Evergreen area, but definitely have roots, have friends all across North Memphis neighborhoods. So Smoke City, Hyde Park, Douglas.
Yeah. Wow.
We just all down Chelsea.
Hey, I know what it said. How was it growing up in North Memphis? And tell me about the schools that you attended in North Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, North Memphis is a beautiful place to live. I invite anybody to come move to the North, back then or now. And it's just a different time. Children had a different lifestyle, always outside, always playing, riding bikes, scuffing up your knees. It's just a different world pre-technology. So I think a lot of people can just vibe with how that is. And because I think we experience the same kind of childhood, especially if you live in the city. But I went to elementary school in South Memphis because my grandmother taught there. So, you got to go where you can get a ride. Yeah. So I went to Georgia Avenue Elementary on Mississippi Boulevard. I met a lot of some of my lifelong friends there in the south part of the city. So I kind of got a lot of different learnings from over there versus over here. But in Memphis, you got to be well versed all the way around. So, and then I went to Snowden, and then I went to Central. Graduated from Central High School.
Okay, Central. I've had quite a few guests that have went to Central. They love Central, baby. Like Oh wow, y'all Central. What kind of activities were you involved in? What were you interested in, Michalyn, at Central High School?
Well, Central, I was on a dance team, and if you went to Central, then it was a definite distinction between the dance team and the cheerleaders.
What was the difference? What was the distinct difference?
I'll let you find somebody else and ask them that difference. I don't want to go too far back, but dance team, history, English, honor societies, whatever I could get my hands into. And then, of course, that was the era of high school organization parties. You don't really see that anymore. So, of course, anybody, graduating around 2007 to 2010 is probably going to have that same experience. Wow. Even if you weren't in an HSO, just being around, like, Sean Gun parties and you going to all the adult clubs before the adults get there.
Yes.
That was a wild time. Now you look back now, like, really? Y'all had us doing this out here?
But it was fun though, right?
It was definitely fun.
Yes, like some of the best times of your life, honey. And I see that you attended Christian Brothers University. What made you choose CBU?
Well, I actually wanted to go to an HBCU at first, but I didn't have the right people in my ear telling me why I should.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made a selection that felt more comfortable.
Right.
Looking back, I wish that someone would have just said, you know, get your tail up, pack your stuff, and go to where the Black folks are.
Okay.
And so I tell that, I'm in education, I tell it to every kid I come
Yeah.
across, you know, what HBCU we going to.
Yeah.
Be around your people, get support and love from your folks, and then be able to use that foundation to go off into the world and do whatever you want to do. And I think
Wow.
that, especially in this year, it's evident
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, HBCUs ain't no second tier to anybody. There's no shade to
Yeah.
CBU. I love
Yeah.
CBU. I'm on the alumni board. Go Bucks. But I do think about what would life have been like if I went to a HBCU. So,
Yeah, I attended Lemoyne College here in Memphis, and
you know,
it was by chance that I attended it. But you know, I'm so thankful that I had that experience in my life. And you know, I just heard you mention that you know you tell any of the kids here you talk to attend an HBCU. You know, we seeing that preach to the children right now when you didn't really hear that just a couple of years ago. You know, wow. So okay, CBU. Tell me about your major and some of your experiences while attending Christian Brothers.
I think I made the best out of the situation at CBU. I liked it because it was small. Class is small. You know the professors. They know you. Campus is small. I may be a little lazy at times. I want to walk up and down, all the way up and down campus. So it was real good for me. But I did history, major in history, political science, and peace studies. And just being able to, you know, ask questions, really dive into what you don't know. So a lot of experiences and opportunities I got just by asking what's going on in here. I had a work study assignment that was delivering mail to different buildings across campus. And I stumbled across the study abroad office. And I'm like, what's study abroad? What are y'all doing in here? What's going on? And so, you know, just having that opportunity to, within that small campus, to be able to be nosy. And that's really what I do. Be nosy, see what's going on, and just ask, can I be a part of it? And because you never know what you're able to do until you just go for it.
Yeah. Wow. So, you know, I got many friends while I attended LOC that went to CBU, sorority sisters, and we hung out at CBU all the time. And they loved the CBU, but it was, like you said, small, close knit. You know, you had access to your professors comparable to a bigger university, which you may not always have that close relationship. So, tell me about this history major. I know you said you're nosy. What made you want to, you know, get a degree in history?
Well, you know, I'm going to tell you a secret. I did not go in a history major.
What did you go in as?
I went in biology major. For my whole life, I said, I'm going to be a dentist. I'm going to get a dentist truck, just ride around the hood, fixing little kids' teeth and stuff like that. So, but when I got in there, those science and math classes,
they ate you up.
They weren't working. So I was like, okay, let me take a step back. Let me self-reflect. What can I do that will be enjoyable, but also help me help children and do outreach? Because that was my main thing, just helping people. What can I do to help people? Now, being a dentist would have put more money in my pocket, but I chose education. Yes. And like I just said, math and science were my thing. So I loved history and piecing stories together and being able to tell a pattern of what's going on and what influenced it. And just seeing, do we see any remnants of that in our current life? And so that's really all history is connecting the dots and being able to tell a story that's supported by evidence. You know, being able to make it relatable. So.
Yes. And, you know, that's, you know, such an important statement you just mentioned, considering the period of time that we are in now. You know, just thinking politically with the elections, but also in regards to medical advancements, technology, healthcare. Michalyn, what would you say are some of the lessons that we can take from history right now?
This is scary, not, and I'm not talking about the overall scary because the pandemic, folks losing their jobs, losing their lives, but scary because this is just so mirroring what we've seen 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't mean to get too teachy right now, but 100 years ago in the late 1917, 18, 19, we were dealing with race riots.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that this summer. We were dealing with a war, World War I. Black people going off to fight and then coming back and still dealing with race issues, stuff that we're seeing now. We was dealing with a pandemic. Folks was wearing their masks then though. They was even masking up there. It's pictures. Yeah. And we were dealing with very corrupt political instability.
Yeah.
Folks that are having scandals left and right, like exactly 100 years ago. And then this tumultuated us into the 1920s. Everybody likes to look at that Great Gatsby, folks partying, women showing their thighs and cutting their hair and smoking seeds and all that stuff. But then right after 1920s, we end up in trouble in the Great Depression. So we need to make sure that we're just keeping our eyes on the patterns and just making sure we pay attention to things that will impact us directly short term and then also long term. I know now it's kind of hard to think so far out on what can really impact your life, your livelihood, and because a lot of us, we're just going day by day, taking stuff day by day. But if we're not careful, we can end up in a lot of the similar situations that our ancestors have already been through so that we don't have to, and we don't want to struggle twice.
No, we don't.
We just got to make sure, keep our eyes open. And if stuff looks like a coincidence, it probably ain't. If it look funky, it probably is. And you need to investigate, talk about it, and see what's going on.
Yes, I agree, Michalyn. And with that being said, what do you think we might be teaching students in the future about, just what is going on today? Do you think that would impact education on any level?
I don't know what this chapter in the history book is gonna look like.
Because it's gonna be a chapter. That book getting thick.
It's gonna be a book. It's gonna be a class in college in the future. 2020, unpacking. I have no idea. I have no idea. I know that I do think that right now with our youth, we should be really focused on social and emotional well-being because we're all dealing with a lot, but our youth are very impressionable. They haven't been able to develop certain mature ways of coping or handling things. And they're going through a lot and they're still expected to log on to school every day and complete all their work and tests. So we're putting a whole lot on them. It's just a whole lot on a lot of us right now, but we gotta definitely pay more attention to our youth and their social and emotional well-being.
You're so right about that because I have a 7-year-old and he is in the first grade and, he just started school and now he can't go to school. And I was so happy when he started because he was being sociable, but now we had to pull back. So it's kind of a weird time for these kids right now. And all I can do is try to give him some support and, he want to be around kids. But here we go with pandemic. You can't play right now. You can't be too close. So it's a very weird time right now. But I want to kind of back up a bit. When you graduated CBU, I know you went to New York for a while. Tell me about Columbia, lady. Tell me.
I love New York. Oh my gosh, I love New York. And the only reason I went, and I think I mentioned this earlier, a lot of stuff, folks don't know. We assume that a lot of people know or are privy to a lot of information, places, people, but they don't. Like I said, I didn't know much about HBCU. I know I went to Southern Heritage Classic every year, but I didn't, mix the two, put two and two together. But also about Ivy League. I didn't know what that was. We're down south You don't hear much about that. You hear about SEC with football. You don't hear about certain academic institutions. But somebody, because I was interning at the National Civil Rights Museum through my history degree, and my supervisor was like, well, at some Ivy League schools, they give scholarships to those who are first generation students. And I was like, well, first off, what's Ivy League? Second off, what's the first generation? Third off, what's going on here? How can I figure that out? So when she told me that, I just started researching and started looking things up. And I'm the type of person, if I'm going to do something, I want to put my best foot forward. I want to make sure I put my all in it. And if I can't do it super duper well, I'm not going to do it. So I said with education, I want to be able to give my best to these children, whichever ones I end up with, and be able to teach them with the best strategies as possible so that they can then go out and make their own perspective and decisions in the world. So when I looked up top education schools in the country, the top two were Columbia Teachers College and Vanderbilt. So I applied to them both, got into them both, went to interviews with them both. And, you know, with Vanderbilt, I was just like, I got to get out the South because spending 4 years in CBU, I need a new scenery. And then when I went to interview in New York, I just fell in love with it. I just fell in love with the culture, the people, the traditions, we talk about grit and grind here. Baby, they grinding up there. No complaints and fast with it. I think I slowed down now that I moved back, but just quick with it, and it was lovely. And I liked the aspect of you just learn from so many pieces of the city. Everything is an opportunity. Everybody's there. Education, art, music, business, economy, just everything, like at your fingertips. And so it wasn't hard to decide to go to school there. And then Columbia, for folks who don't know, they've gentrified a part of Harlem. So Columbia is in Harlem, off 116th through 120th Street, which is where Harlem is. And you really see the impacts of what gentrification is in places like New York. We have it slowly in Memphis. And in my opinion, gentrification is not a good thing. If it was, it wouldn't have a negative connotation. It would just be revitalization for the neighborhood. But it's not. It's gentrification and folks coming in, taking your stuff and doing what they want with it. Basically. Yeah, but I definitely enjoyed New York, and I learned so much up there with schooling and my job and the stuff I was involved in. It was awesome. How long were you there, Michalyn? So I was only there 3 years. I was only there 3 years. Felt like 5 by the time I came back. I'm like, oh, okay, what y'all doing around here at home? But yeah, it was a short time, but a lot was done. Wow. So when you got through with Columbia, you were like, okay, I got to get back to Memphis to implement all of this that I learned, or what happened right there in that area of your life, Michalyn? Well, you know, I'm going to shade some folks and I'm going to say, we got to stop in this city loving folks from the outside first. Like, we really need to give the same fervor and love to folks who are right here. And me knowing that, I was like, well, you know, I'm gonna stay in New York. I'm gonna finish this first master's program. I'm gonna work up here in the school for a little bit, get my next master's program, come on down to Memphis, snag me a school, because folks in Memphis love folks from outside. But it didn't work. It didn't work out that way. So in 2014, March 10th, 2014, my dad died in Memphis, and I was already back and forth. Shout out to my auntie who worked with the airlines. I get them cheap tickets, but back and forth every 2 weeks, from New York to Memphis, just to see my dad, take care of my dad, go see him while he was at ICU, see him at home, help him go around. Because the year before I made the decision to go to grad school, my dad was paralyzed. So he went from, you know, racing up and down Summer Avenue, 2-seater stick shift, riding motorcycles all around, to becoming paralyzed. That's a huge shift. And being my father's only child, he said that it was good for me to go. So when I made the decision to move to New York, my dad was already in the wheelchair. So I was having to make the decision of, do I stay here where I know I can't get the best out of what I need to be better for others? Or do I take my daddy's blessing and go to New York and just, talk to him every day, come back and forth. And that's what I did. And so in 2014, when he passed, it really, still do, of course, it's my daddy, took a toll on me up there, mainly because I wasn't here.
Yeah.
And then, dealing with my mom and my little brother on my mom's side, I just got tired of coming back and forth. Yeah. Because I was here every 2 weeks. So when I was here, I would pick up and be doing stuff in the community. I would be doing outreach. So it was like, okay, no, I want to keep on spending this money for plane tickets, or do I just want to go ahead, make the plan to move back down? So me and my boyfriend, then now husband, we was like, okay, we're just gonna make the plan to move back down to Memphis a little early. I knew I was coming back. I just didn't know how soon, but everything happens for a reason. Yeah. And I wouldn't trade those experiences, even at CBU, even though it ain't HBCU. I wouldn't trade those experiences, because all of that made me be able to see things differently. Yeah. And I think that perspective is definitely needed in education and in the political landscape in Memphis. If I wouldn't have left, I don't think I would be doing half the stuff that I'm doing now, the way that I'm doing it now.
Yes. Wow.
So I definitely appreciate all those experiences.
Wow. And when you hit back in Memphis, I know that your eyes were open with a new lease.
Oh, yeah.
What did you immediately notice or felt that you had to do when you got back, Michalyn?
Hit the ground running. Hit the ground running. First thing I did was move back on my mom, save some money, look for a house in North Memphis. Yes. I'm like, if I'm doing the work here, I gotta be here. I gotta be amongst what I want to change. I can't be, North Memphis bound, living in Germantown. No shade to anybody, but the way that I want to do my work, I need to be fully involved and invested in what I say that I care about. So look for a home here, bought a home, moved in, started doing community advocacy. So forming partnerships and doing the work all across North Memphis. So I started a nonprofit called Our Grass, Our Roots, and founded in 2014. And what we do, our main thing is just to push progression in all North Memphis neighborhoods. So whether that be doing our voter education project, whether that be supporting neighborhoods that need assistance in communicating with other neighborhoods or getting their projects and their advocacy off the ground, whatever that looks like is what OGOR does. So within that work, form partnerships, form folks trust, like I said, all up and down Chelsea, areas in which I know, but now I'm going in a different way. I'm not, the regular neighborhood kid that would just be there with their friends, going in and out the corner stores, going up and down the street in the cars. Now we're talking to seniors. Now we're trying to see why folks our age and folks around, how they can get to vote. Now we're seeing how the youth can be supported. What do the churches need? What do the schools there need? So just being able to progress my neighborhood from within is my whole scope of work. Yeah. And within that, you have to include the children, because it's for them. Everything we're doing, everything we're setting up is for them. It's not for us to hold on to. It's not for us to make our pedestal and stand there. It's for what are we giving to children once they're able to do things on their own. And so that they don't leave and stay forever gone and feel like Memphis is not a place that accepts them and wants them and loves them. We need to do our best that we can just leave a great foundation for them to build on. We got to.
Definitely. I totally agree, Michalyn. What do you think are some things that community members can do right now to revitalize their communities and, you know, combat gentrification? You already talked to me a little bit about gentrification, but what can community leaders do right now?
Number one is so easy. Talk to folks. See what's going on your streets. See what's going on in your neighborhoods. How many calls did Ms. Jones get about her house from these telemarketers? Is she in a bind? Is she looking at giving up her home for that $10,000 from the wholesaler that's calling her on the phone talking about we buy cash houses?
It's a lot of that.
And how is that going to impact your street and your neighborhood? And you look up and now you got a whole street that's been flipped and that you probably can't afford, but we weren't talking and in communication to really see what's going on. Now, great example of a neighborhood that does that is French Fort. You ain't getting in French Fort.
Okay.
This stuff is not on the that's not on the real estate website. Okay, you have to, they're talking to each other. They're selling stuff, you know, selling homes amongst each other and each other's family.
Where is French Fort?
Exactly, right?
I never heard of it. Tell me about this French Fort.
The main street over there is Riverside. It's by the Metal Museum.
Okay, I know where that is.
In the old Marine Hospital. And lately they've remodeled the Marine Hospital. I think it got ghosts, but that's just me. The Marine Hospital to be lofts and apartments. And so I won't say that that's gentrification because it's not encroaching in the French Fort. It's just that. But I will say that having those lofts open will open a new set of eyes that never seen French Fort. You have wonderful, and it's South Memphis. It's a lot of good architecture in places in South Memphis too. But you have a beautiful neighborhood set on nice, lush, vast land, great stock of houses, large, medium, small, that people don't see because you shouldn't be over there if you ain't got no folks over there. And you can't. And so me personally, for neighborhoods like that, I'm afraid that when a new population of folks may move in and set eyes on it, that the target might end up to be a negative impact if folks don't keep communicating and talking to one another, so that if something was to come that they had to band together for, they'd be able to do that. So that's just an example of one that we got here in the city that does that. And we got to talk to each other. We really got to talk to each other. We have to be more neighborly. We have to be more aware of what's going on. We just got to talk to each other.
Yeah, keep this line of communication open. Michalyn, tell me how you decided to get into Memphis politics and run for city council. Tell me about that.
Well, I would say that everybody's already in politics.
Okay.
Anything you do, every decision you make, somebody has already decided a list of regulations or rules that impact the decisions you can make. So you talked about, you know, taking your kids to the barbershop. They got to get licensing. They have to get zoning. And a lot of those things are decided by government. So I would say that local government is probably the most important in folks' everyday lives. And this is something I was explaining to folks on the campaign trail. So knowing that everybody's already in politics, we have to make sure we're as knowledgeable as we can be. You know, you don't have to know everything, but we need to be able to hold folks accountable, and we need to be able to know where to go to get good political information. So for me, I decided to run because I told you I'm in education. I do community advocacy, but I was always running against that wall, not being able to get the fullest of what I can because of who my representative was on city council. So I would say, well, I can call the state rep. I can call my county commissioner. I can email my senator and get a reply back. But why can't we get anything on the city level? And also, when you think about city politics, local politics, city and county, that's what impacts our kids the most. So seeing the problems that my students would come in with and not being able to help them past the point that it's not an education issue, it's a city issue. You know, I can do everything I can in the building. I can give you help, assistance, tutoring. We have coat drives. We giving away food. You can get your medical. Kids can get their medical, their eyes tested, their teeth cleaned at school. But once you get home and you dealing with your parents having third shift jobs, having, warehouse low wage jobs, or you dealing with issues on your street with potholes, or somebody ran into the pole, your lights out, now y'all can't do stuff at the house. You're dealing with slumlord problems, depending on where you stay. Those are things that we can't impact in the classroom. So in my eyes, I said, in order for me to, one, have accurate representation in my area where I want to be, where I'm invested, where I bought my house on purpose, and in order for me to try to alleviate some of the problems that my kids see on a day-to-day basis and that their families go through, then I asked God, was it right for me to run? Should I do it? Because, anybody can do something, but I wanted to make sure that it was something I should do.
Yeah.
So asked for clarification on that, got that. And like I said, I don't like doing nothing if I don't do it super well. And if I don't know, I can put my best foot forward. So I put my best foot forward, and the people did too. I wouldn't be nowhere if it weren't for God and the folks and their support, and we did it.
So. Yes. So you are on this city council in Memphis, baby. And I look at the news daily, and of course we see updates and different things from the city council, see some of their meetings. Since you've joined the city council, how has that been? Do you feel that you're making the impact that you wanted? Has it been easy? Has it been challenging? Tell me about that, Michalyn.
Oh, it's definitely a challenge, but I love a challenge. I love it.
You love a challenge, though.
It's too easy. Some not going right. So I love, and as we talked about, I love history. I like connecting the dots. I like seeing what doesn't make sense. I like reading. I like going against what you said and what's on the paper and seeing what's going on. And some people don't like that. Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. I don't have a political background. I have a people background, and I have a reading background. And I think that as long as you're doing your best for others, trying to make sure you put the people first, which is what I try to do, then I think it'll work out pretty well. So I think it's been working out pretty well. This has been one hell of a year. It's our first year. We got sworn in January 1st, and it's felt like 3 years. But really, I would say that being able to serve others during this time, I'm very grateful for.
Yes.
And so not just looking at what we're able to have in my family, and we've had a lot of ups and downs and deaths and issues too this year, but seeing how I can do a little bit more to impact the lives of the folks that I said I wanted to represent. So, all year, I'm sure you've seen some stuff, but stuff like mass drives, food giveaways, just anything that can just bring some help and some sunshine to folks is what we need this year. So that's what I've been focusing on a lot this year, with like people to people things. But in the council, it's just straight, some of them folks up there just make stuff harder than it gotta be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have to be that hard. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But I'm gonna keep pushing and fighting because of who I'm doing it for, and it's for the people.
I know that's right, Michalyn. And, with you being in this role and COVID is here, of course, I'm wondering, do you have some insight right now on, I guess, recent developments on Memphis with COVID? I think I recently saw they're changing a few things with capacity, with local businesses. And I'm wondering, how is that going to be managed? What are we doing, Michalyn? Help me out.
They're wondering the same thing.
You're wondering too. I'm like, how y'all gonna keep up with it though?
Yeah, and if you wondering, then you already know what the answer is. But I think that one thing we have to understand in Memphis is we got two governments. We got city and county. And so when those mandates come out, that's coming from the county health department.
Oh,
So
okay.
we also got to realize when the governor says something, when the state puts out a mandate, that's only for cities and counties that don't have a health department. So counties like Davidson, Nashville, counties like Shelby, Memphis, like when we saw on there, I think Governor Lee said something about, yeah, y'all can do this in this capacity. And Shelby County was like, nah, we doing our own mandates because that's what's allowed by the state because we have our own county health department. So this latest health directive, number 16 is what it's called, if folks are looking it up online. In my eyes, it's weak. It's a weak order. If you read it, it's exactly what we are doing right now. If you could take a snapshot of how the city of Memphis is operating, it would be in a new health order that starts after Christmas.
So nothing really changing. Nothing is really changing.
Nothing is changing on there except for it says social gatherings 10 or fewer, but it still allows for restaurants and lounges to operate. It does cut them capacity from 50% to 25%. But then as you ask, we're thinking about regulation, we're thinking about how's that going to be enforced. And I'm not saying this to deter the process or the system. I'm just saying that we should have cracked down a long time ago. We have been in this since March. There is no reason why in December, the health department of Shelby County is afraid to make a decision because of restaurants or businesses that may or may not be able to keep afloat. And I know that people say it's two sides to this issue, but it's not. In my eyes, it's like, what are you willing to do to save others? How selfish can you be? It's not a two-sided issue. It shouldn't be a partisan issue because you should want folks to be alive, period. And so what can you do in your own personal actions that's going to keep folks alive? And it's not a side to that. And I hate that that's how the narrative is. And that's what we have to deal with, and that's what we're hearing. But we really have to see about our compassion, and not just compassion, just level of straight out, we're in a society, we're in a democratic society, and that's what you're supposed to do. So your actions and freedoms should not infringe upon mine. And if your actions and freedoms are infringing on my freedom to be alive, then that's a problem. And that needs to be regulated. So that's what just came out this week. I have no idea what after January 1st is going to look like. Daily, I keep up with news. They update us through the city, and I try to get that out as best as possible to my constituents through social media or email blasts. But we just have to do our best to stay safe, make decisions that are going to keep our family safe, and really prioritize people. We haven't been prioritizing people a lot with our government response in the city. We haven't. We've been prioritizing businesses. But businesses, let me tell you, if we all get sick and we dying and we in the hospital, you ain't gonna have no customers. So we have to think about what are we willing to do? What are we willing to do? That's my view. That's my view on that.
It's amazing because, like you said, are we really looking at the business owners from the perspective of them staying afloat versus people being alive? I mean, basically, you need to look like what's more important, right, at the end of the day. So this is very interesting, Michalyn. And how do you think this moment has defined our leadership right now, just overall?
I've said this often this year, and I'm going to keep saying it until we have our next elections counted in 2022 and city in 2023. Look at your representatives, look at the leaders now, and see how they acted in 2020. Judge folks by 2020. Because if they come to you talking about they want to lead this, run for this, 2022, 2023, you need to look back at their record in 2020 and see what they did and how they reacted to this whole debacle. And if it's not up to your standard, they don't deserve to lead or represent you, because folks showed they truth.
Wow.
They showed their truth this year. They
Yeah.
showed who they're for. They showed who they're fighting for or who they're fighting against. They showed their courage or lack of. They showed it.
Yeah.
We showed it. So judge us. I'm putting me in there too. Judge us by 2020 and see, do we deserve your vote, your support in the future? Because if they won with you this year, they ain't never gonna be with you. So
Okay, you right.
Judge us by this year.
Girl, you so right. Like 2020 has exposed so much across the board,
Yes.
politics, relationships, family,
Yeah.
just overall. So this has been a very interesting year. It's definitely had its pros and of course its cons. But Michalyn, I really appreciate you today. You have been a delight on this Verbally Effective podcast today, baby. We've learned so much about you and your journey, and I pray that you remain with that fire that you have, that passion for North Memphis and your community. I know you're doing an exceptional job. Yes, put them up. And right now, I want you to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and contact you, follow you on social media going forward, Michalyn.
So as I tell everybody, my city number is 901-721-7667. Let me know what's going on. If you need help anywhere on social media, you can find me at Easter-Thomas, Measterthomas.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Michalyn. I know you got things to do, and I really appreciate you. I can't wait for everyone to hear this wonderful podcast about your journey. And you have a wonderful holiday, lady. You stay safe out here. I will. And thank you so much for joining me today, lady.
Thank you again. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.